This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Shalom Aleichem. We continue in the second aspect of emulating HaKadosh Baruch Hu, effectuating the midah of Chesed in the Sefira of Chesed, doing Chesed to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as the Talmud Devorah quoted from the Tikkunei Zohar, Eizehu Chesed Hamas Chasedim Koino. Yesterday we learned the Chesed of showing kindness to a small child, and by doing so, one thereby causes Bina, which is the mother, to steer Mishpat and Tiferes to the side of Chesed, and it's V'soitzi Ka'ar Mishpatenu. Today we learn about the mitzvah of Milah, which is also a Chesed because the child is imperfect before the Milah. The Talmud Devorah says to circumcise the child. I believe we're going to spend 2 days on this one, and that is to do the perfect mitzvah, meaning fulfill all aspects of the mitzvah regarding circumcision, and doing parallel above that the same way with circumcision. There is a foreskin, there is something extra that is not needed, that is attached to the toiv. So anytime you have what is called a klipa or an arla conceptually in any sphere, especially when it attaches to yesod, in other words, the arla attaches to the milah. Likewise, in the spheroids, there's a concept, the arla, which could be called a klipa or an extraneous shell, attaches to the sphera of yesod. You should pursue all things that cause this extra klipa in the sphera and bring them back to do tshuva. How does one accomplish this? By influencing other people and circumcising the heart of other people and bringing them back to tshuva. So what that will do is it will cause in Shamayim the yesod, which is the yesod is also referred to as the tzaddik ha'elyon. The tzaddik ha'elyon is the supernal tzaddik. That's a reference to the sphera of yesod. Will also be without an arla, and will be able to stand strong to counteract all those things that cause an arla. Therefore, Pinchas, he circumcised the hearts of Klal Yisrael, and everyone could please mute. Pinchas circumcised the hearts of Klal Yisrael, and by doing so, he circumcised their heart in an actual way, in that he removed them from sinning with arayas, and therefore he was zocheh to chesed. He was zocheh to become a kohen, because kahuna is in the realm of chesed. So since he did chesed with HaKadosh Baruch Hu by circumcising the tzaddik ha'elyon, so he was zocheh that chesed was done to him. So let's try to explain this lefi madregasenu, if we're able to do such a thing. So let's see what I got over here. Here we go. When a person circumcises his foreskin, so he's being perfected, and he's also perfecting the Olam Yisrael Yonim. Now the Archaim HaKadosh in Vayikra, Perek Yud Beis Pasuk Gimel writes that the concept of Arla is the concept of the evil that exists in man. And Hashem commands Klal Yisrael to circumcise their Arla because we need to be without the Bechina of Ra. Now the Arla is the Bechina of the Klipa. Now, how many things do we need to do in the mitzvah of Milah? We must do 3 things. We have to do Milah, which is cutting the foreskin. We have to do Priya, which is uncovering the thin layer of skin into 2, without cutting it. And then Metzitza, which is drawing out the blood of these 2 areas. Now, the concept of Metzitza is also part of the Arla. In other words, the Arla has sort of 3 parts to it. There's the foreskin itself, which is severed. There's the uncovering pulling it back, and then there is the drawing out of the blood of that area. Now, the Zohar HaKadosh teaches us that every item of Kedusha likewise has a Klipa or an Arla. And the reference to the Klipa of any of Kedusha is called the Ginas Egois, the garden of the walnut. A walnut is a delicious nut, but it has 4 levels of shell. It has an outer bitter shell that's dry and falls off. It has a hard shell. It has a shell that is sort of separate between the hard shell and the food. And then there's a shell that's connected to the nut itself that you almost eat. So you're really removing only 3 of the shells. The 4th one sticks on. So too in the mitzvah of Milah, the Arla corresponds to the outer shell of the Egois. The Priya keneged the shell that you break. The Metzitza is keneged the shell in between the shell and the food. And then there still remains on us some degree of a klipa. And the Sefer Shari Ora says that these 4 klipos interpose between Klal Yisrael and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and they're called an Arla. And they're referenced by Yechezkel. One of them Yechezkel calls Ruach Sa'ara, a storm wind. Number 2 he calls Anan Gadol, a big cloud. Number 3 he calls Eish Mislakachas, a burning fire. And the 4th one is called Noiga, some kind of aura. And these are all klipos that separate between us and the Ribbon Shalom. I knew after we did such a good job yesterday that today we would continue in the same vein. Now, when a person does bris milah and he cuts the arla, he is symbolically removing the ruach sa'ara, the anan gadol, the eish mislakachas, and the noiga still exists. Now, what does the word arla mean? The Sefer Elima, and I'm reading now from the Perush Hakdamas V'Sha'arim. The Sefer Elima says the arla is a lashon of being stuffed up, oitem, stima. Like we say, Vani aral sefasayim. Moshe Rabbeinu said he had an arla on his lips. What does that mean? What that means is he did not speak clearly. It was shtupped up. Or like in Yirmiyah, arla aznam. So upstairs in the spheroids, the spheres could get clogged up by chitzoinim. And by removing the arla, you remove these outer forces and you open up the pathways of Kedusha. So what does this mean? Basically like this. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world in a way that every item of Kedusha has a klipa that surrounds it and separates between a person and Kedusha. And these klipos are the chitzoinim. They want to nurse and nourish from the source of Kedusha. And as long as there's an arla, all the shefa is stuffed up and it cannot come out, so because it doesn't want the koichos hara to nourish from it. Now, let's explain a little bit further. The Talmud Devorah says you want to remove, by performing the mitzvahs properly, that anything which is a klipa or an arla that's attached to your side. So here's a very important principle. The spheroids and shamayim parallel the limbs of a person. The right arm is Chesed, the left arm is Gevurah. The Yisoid, the Midah of Yisoid, which is the 6th Midah, is Keneged the Bris. And the same way, the concept of the member of the Bris, it draws life force from above, and it brings it down here to this world. That is the function of that limb. It draws the life force from upstairs, really from the brain, through the pituitary gland, but conceptually through the shamayim, and brings life down to this world. Likewise, the sphera of Yesod receives all the influence from the upper spheroids, and then it delivers it to the 7th sphere, which is Malchus. The same way, if you take a look at a seed from which you plant a tree, in that little seed is koilel in it. All the forces of the tree and all the fruits, all the ability and phenomenon that the tree can perform, and all the fruits are destined to come from it. And then the earth receives the seed, you put the seed in the earth and it becomes a big tree, so too the Yesod, the Bris Milah, contains all the life force of the above Sfiros, and it then delivers it to Malchus. Now, just like in the upper worlds, there are 4 shells that try to take away the Shefa, so too in a person, there is an Arla that consists of 4 shells. And when you mal yourself, so then you're removing at least 3 of the shells, and correspondingly, you are removing a good deal of Klipa in the Shamayim. I see that everybody is very enraptured in this. This is amazing. Okay, so let's... Yaakov, you hear me in London? We're good? Okay, let's continue. So, a little bit more, just a tiny bit more, and I'll leave you with a question on the Parsha, okay? Now, a person has to pursue and remove all the koiches hara that exists from these 4 klipos. Now, Reb Tzadok HaKohen says the 4 klipos, like we said, are alluded to in the pasuk in Yechezkel, Parak Aleph, pasuk Dalet. So after this year, everybody open up Sefer Yechezkel. By the way, you ever hear of Sefer Yechezkel? It's this really great Sefer written by the prophet Ezekiel, and is not related to the tropical storm Isaiah. He's a prophet, and he, in his 4th pasuk, he discusses the 4 klipos, and they are Ve'era V'hinei Ruach Sara is number 1, Anon Gadol number 2, Eish Misla Kachas number 3, and number 4 V'noi Galoi Saviv. Now these refer, if I could just share with you, and then we'll end off, to the 4 types of Yetzer Hara. There's a Yetzer Hara on the left side of your heart that causes confusion. That when a person wants to start davening or learning, the Yetzer starts stirring to think other thoughts, to think about other things you have to do and other things that are bothering you. Then comes the Anon Gadol, the big cloud that darkens the goodwill that a person has on the right side of his heart. And suddenly a person loses all cheshek for learning. Then comes the burning fire, that refers to the koyach of taiva. Then comes the klipa of noiga. This convinces a person to speak idle chatter. So basically, there are 4 ways the Yetzer Hara tries to get us to sin, and they are the symbolism of the 4 kinds of arla. And again, the process of Milah is able to get rid of at least 3 of them. So let's end with the following question, and hopefully we will conclude the concept of Milah tomorrow, including the executive summary. So don't worry about the summary yet of this Chesed of Milah. Yitzi, Mazel Tov on the grandson. So Be'ezus Hashem, it should be B'shat Tov U'Mitzlachas. But now you'll know what to think when you, right? Okay.
Thank you. I'm trying to ask that other question. What about women?
They could also think this, but the Maisa is not relevant. But let's end it with the following question. The question is that in this week's Parsha, the pasuk says, "Umaltem es orlas levavchem." You should circumcise the foreskin of your heart, which again, that is possible for Nashim. So that implies that a person is obligated to, so to speak, cut off the foreskin of their own heart. However, in Parshas Nitzavim, the pasuk says, "Umal Hashem leikacha es levavcha v'es levav zarecha." So there it says Hashem will cut it off. So that's the question: who's supposed to do it, the person or Hashem? We'll continue with this tomorrow. So if anybody asks, "Did you learn Torah Devorah?" you say, "Yeah." If anyone says, "Did you skip the hard parts?" you say, "Absolutely not. We didn't skip any of the hard parts." Now, no promises here and on, but at least we're trying. Okay? Rabbi say we'll try to conclude this tomorrow. In the meantime, have a great day. Tonight we have a great shiur at 8:30 p.m. Everyone's cordially invited. And Kol Tov, have a great day. Bye bye.
Rabbi, I want to wish you a happy Tu B'Av. Okay, it's a happy day today.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, feel great.
Bye bye.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.